laws of the spiritual realm. Spiritual laws, another one we could probably use to understand is that in the human realm, God has limited his ability to protect us from evil. He does watch over us. He does protect us according to all that's said here. But church, understand this. He does limit himself. And we're going to talk more about that. The reason that this is important, I'm going to bring up here in just a moment, our third point. But before I go on, there's something in understanding about that you need to understand also. And I read this just recently in a book that I read, Perry Stone. I know some of you might know Perry Stone, heard of him. He has a book, Angels on Assignment. He makes the following statement that fits in very well right here. Just because we have a negative experience in life, hear what he says, just because we have a negative experience in life does not diminish the promises of Scripture. Just because you may have a negative experience in life does not mean that the promises of Scripture are not still true. This means that life is not always perfect. Life is not always perfect. We know about that. Life is not always perfect, but a God who is perfect is watching every aspect of your life. I want you to, if you take nothing else from today, you need to take that today. God is watching. He knows every aspect of your life. Number three, lastly, the danger, talk about free will, the danger of exercising free will wrongly. We've talked about already how if we exercise free will rightly, we live under God's shadow, we see what the results will be. Now, let's think about if we choose poorly. I always remember that movie, the Indiana Jones, I think was the third one. That old knight, that guy drunk from the wrong cup. The old knight says he chose poorly. A lot of folks choosing poorly today. A lot of folks choosing poorly, choosing to be obedient to Satan. You think, how does that fit in here? We need to understand something very important here. Something very important we need to understand. Our decisions, and this could probably be a spiritual truth, our decisions, good or bad, understand this, have consequences. We need to understand. That's a simple truth. Maybe one we already know, but it needs to be reinforced here. Our decisions, whether good or bad, they do have consequences. We need to understand that there is no neutral ground. There is no neutral ground here. You're either following God or you're following Satan. There's no neutral ground. A lot of folks just say, I've heard people say, maybe you have too, you know what, I really don't have an opinion. I don't care one way or the other. Well, you've made your point clear. By not making a decision, you've already made a decision. Now, what do I say here? It's that simple. We need to understand that there's no neutral ground. You either choose to follow the Lord or you choose the enemy. It's that simple. To disobey God, understand this, to disobey God in anything, no matter how seemingly small we think it is. You listening to me? When we disobey God in anything, no matter how seemingly small we think it is, we have chosen to follow the enemy. You hear what I'm saying? We've chosen to follow the enemy. To disobey God in anything is to choose to follow the enemy. And in making these choices, understand when we make those kind of choices, we open ourselves up to the working and the moving of the enemy in our lives. He's like a cancer that is planted in that area of our lives that will grow and will mature and bring to fruition in other areas death and destruction, which in turn moves us from under the covering of God that we talked about in the first point. Spiritual truth here. If you reject God or are disobedient to Him in any way, you are being obedient to Satan. You hear what I'm saying? If you disobey God in anything, church, anything, you're being obedient to Satan. Obedience to Satan brings